He saved the paralyzed alien fighter, and she repaid him in the most unexpected way. Whispers in the void. The medical frigate Mercy's Reach drifted like a pale ghost in the shadow of Paralyzed, a world scarred by conflict. In the dim light of Laboratory 7, Dr. Lena Voronova hunched over a microscope, her auburn hair escaping its loose bun as she adjusted the calibration. The neural tissue sample glowed with a faint lavender bioluminescence, beautiful, alien, and dying. Recording log 217, she spoke to the lab's audio system. Valthusian neural pathways continue to show resistance to conventional human regenerative protocols. Their crystalline structure fragments under standard treatments, almost as if she paused, tapping her stylus against her teeth. Almost as if it's rejecting our understanding of biology itself. A chime at the door interrupted her musings. Dr. Javier Okafor, the station's medical director, entered with the perpetual look of someone who'd forgotten to eat lunch. Another late night, Lena, he asked, his deep voice carrying the weight of administrative burdens. The samples are degrading faster than I can document them, she replied without looking up. If we're going to help any of the wounded Valthusians, I need more time. Javier sighed. That's why I'm here. We're receiving a high-priority patient. Valthusian command vessel was hit by our experimental quantum disruptors. One survivor. Lena's head snapped up. Who? Commander Zather. The name hung in the air like a blade. Commander Zather of the 7th Fleet. The Valthusian who had ordered the bombardment of New Seattle. The strategist whose tactical brilliance had cost thousands of human lives. They want us to treat him? After what he did? Lena's voice was barely a whisper. They're sending him here because everyone else has given up, Javier said. Complete neural disruption along the primary spine. Total paralysis. They're calling it a courtesy gesture to show humanitarian compliance. But we all know they're sending him to die somewhere that isn't their problem. Lena looked back at her microscope. When does he arrive? He's already here. Commander Zather lay motionless in Medical Bay 12, a room hastily modified to accommodate Valthusian physiology. His elongated frame stretched across the reinforced bed, silvery skin dulled to the color of wet ash. The 3 ridges running along his hairless skull, once the pride of a warrior caste, had gone flat and lifeless. Only his eyes moved, large pupils with concentric rings of violet and gold that tracked Lena as she entered. I am Dr. Voronova, she said, maintaining a professional distance. I'll be overseeing your care. Zather's eyes blinked slowly. Once, twice, the only communication he could manage. The quantum disruptors had severed the connections between his brain and body, leaving a brilliant military mind trapped in useless flesh. Lena checked the monitors, noting the unusual patterns in his neural readings. Can you understand me? Blink. Once. Yes. Do you know where you are? Blink. Once. Do you know why you're here? 2 blinks. No. Lena hesitated. Protocol dictated minimal interaction, standard care, and no experimental treatments for enemy combatants. But the scientist in her couldn't ignore what she was seeing in those readings. Your neural patterns are unique, she said, turning the monitor so he could see. The quantum disruption didn't sever your connections completely. They're dormant. Zather's eyes widened slightly. I've been studying Valthusian neural tissue, she continued. Your species uses crystalline structures to transmit neural signals. Our weapons disrupted them, but they're not destroyed. Theoretically, if we could find the right catalyst. She trailed off, remembering where she was and who she was talking to. This was Commander Zather, responsible for the deaths of many. He deserved care under interstellar law, but not her enthusiasm. Yet as she turned to leave, his eyes followed her with such intensity that she paused. There was something there beyond a warrior's pride. Something desperately human in its vulnerability. I'll return tomorrow for further assessment, she said stiffly, and left the room. 3 weeks later, Lena's unauthorized experiments had progressed from theoretical to practical. Using the fabrication lab during off hours and borrowing supplies, she'd created a neural stimulator calibrated specifically for Valthusian physiology. This might feel strange, she warned Zather as she attached the device to his neck ridge. If it becomes painful, blink rapidly. Their communication had evolved. 1 blink for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I'm unsure. Rapid blinking for distress. And though neither would admit it, something else had developed, a reluctant understanding. Lena had learned that Zather had been acting under orders, believing the human outposts were weapons installations. She'd learned that he'd requested verification before the bombardment, but had been overruled. And she'd learned, through painstaking yes-no questioning, that he carried the weight of those deaths like stones in his soul. Zathar, in turn, had witnessed her determination, her brilliance, and her willingness to risk her career for an enemy who could give her nothing in return. The stimulator hummed to life. Zathar's body tensed, then relaxed. His eyes widened. "Can you feel anything?" Lena asked. One blink. "Yes." "Where?" She'd developed a system. Upper body, lower body, left, right. Through careful questioning, she determined he could feel sensation in his left hand. "Try to move your index finger," she said. For long moments, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly, the slender gray digit twitched. Lena's breath caught. "You did it." Zathar's eyes shimmered with something she hadn't seen before, hope. The lab doors hissed open at 0300 hours, startling Lena from her work. "I thought I might find you here," Javier said, crossing his arms. "Care to explain why Commander Zathar's neural readings have changed so dramatically?" Lena straightened. "I've been implementing a new therapy. Without authorization. The standard protocols weren't working. I developed a stimulator that—" "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Javier cut her off. "This isn't some anonymous patient, Lena. This is Commander Zathar. Do you know how many families would be horrified to know we're experimenting to save him?" "We took an oath," she countered. "And besides, he's not what the propaganda says." "Oh, did he tell you that?" "The Paralyzed were criminal who can only blink." "He was following orders," Lena said quietly. "Like we all do." Javier's expression softened slightly. "The Valthusian High Command contacted us today. They're sending a delegation to retrieve him." "What?" "What?" "Apparently, news of his survival has spread. He's become a symbol back home. The great commander who refuses to die. They want him back for specialized care." "They can't treat him the way I can," Lena protested. "I've made breakthroughs with the crystalline neural pathway regeneration that no one else." "It's not a medical decision. It's political," Javier interrupted. "And the human authorities are happy to get rid of him before anyone starts asking why we're spending resources on the butcher of New Seattle." Lena felt cold. "When they arrive tomorrow, pack up your research. Document everything. If there's medical value beyond this one patient, I'll make sure it gets to the right people." After he left, Lena hurried to Medical Bay 12. Zathar was awake, as he often was at night. The Valthusian need for sleep was minimal compared to humans. "They're coming for you tomorrow," she said without preamble. "Your people." His eyes showed no surprise. "Did you know?" she demanded. One blink. "Yes." "For how long?" He had no way to answer that precisely, but his gaze was steady, unapologetic. "They'll take you away, and all this work will be wasted," she said, pacing. "You'll end up a symbol, a relic. Is that what you want?" Two blinks. "No." "Then what do you want?" Zathar's left hand, the only part of him with even minimal mobility, twitched. With painstaking effort, he formed his long fingers into a shape that took her a moment to recognize. Unity. The ancient Valthusian symbol for integration of opposites. Lena stared at him. "You want to continue the treatment?" One blink. "With me." One blink. "That's not possible. Your people wouldn't allow a human doctor to." The overhead lights suddenly flashed red. The station's alert system blared to life. "Emergency protocol initiated," announced a computerized voice. "Unauthorized vessel approaching. All personnel to secure stations." Lena froze. "That's not your delegation, is it?" Two blinks. "No." The lights flickered. Something had hit the station. "Attention all medical personnel," came Javier's voice over the comm. "We have a security breach. Armed individuals have boarded the station. They appear to be targeting Medical Bay 12. This is not a drill." Lena's eyes met Zathar's. Someone wanted to make sure the commander never left this station alive. And in that moment, as alarms blared and footsteps echoed down the corridor, Dr. Lena Voronova, who had sworn to do no harm, made a decision that would change the course of two civilizations. She reached for the neural stimulator and dialed it to maximum output. "This is going to hurt," she warned. "But if it works, you might just save both our lives." Zathar blinked once. "Ready." The stimulator pulsed. The commander's body arched in silent agony as crystalline neural pathways forcibly reactivated. And in the doorway, the first silhouette of an armed intruder appeared. Echoes of tomorrow. Pain coursed through Zathar's body like liquid fire. Every dormant neural pathway flared to life at once, overwhelming systems that had lain dormant for months. His vision narrowed to pinpoints, then expanded into blinding white as the stimulator reached maximum output. Lena watched in horror as his body convulsed. "Too much," she whispered, reaching for the controls. But before she could adjust the settings, Zathar's arm shot out, grabbing her wrist with surprising strength. His eyes, now glowing with an intense violet light, locked onto hers. In the doorway, the intruder raised a weapon. Human build, military-grade combat suit, face obscured by a tactical mask. "Step away from the Valthusian, Doctor," the figure ordered, voice distorted through a modulator. "This doesn't concern you." "I'm afraid it does," Lena replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "This is my patient." "Your patient is a war criminal scheduled for termination," the intruder replied, advancing into the room. "Black Operations Directive 37-9. He never makes it back to Valthusian space." Behind her, Zathar's grip tightened. His body trembled with effort, but he was moving. "How many more are with you?" Lena asked, stalling for time. "Enough to ensure the mission succeeds and the blame falls on Valthusian extremists," the intruder replied. "Now move aside." At that moment, the ship's alarms changed pattern. "Security breach in sectors 3 through 7, announced the automated system. Multiple unauthorized personnel detected." The assassin's attention wavered for just a second, and that was all Zathar needed. With a sudden surge of effort, he swung his legs off the bed and lunged forward, knocking Lena to the floor as a silent pulse weapon discharged where she'd been standing. The motion seemed to cost Zathar everything. He collapsed beside her, limbs twitching erratically, but his eyes remained focused. "Run," they seemed to say. The assassin recovered quickly, adjusting aim. But before they could fire again, the room's emergency decontamination system activated, filling the space with dense, obscuring vapor. "Override code breach," came Javier's voice over the comm. "Dr. Voronova, if you can't hear me, head for Shuttle Bay 2. Emergency evacuation authorized." Lena didn't hesitate. She grabbed the neural stimulator, still attached to Zathar's neck ridge, and looped his arm over her shoulder. "I can't carry you," she gasped. "You have to try." The Valthusian commander, once feared across 3 star systems, now struggled to make his legs respond to basic commands. But something was working. The forced neural reactivation had bypassed some of the damaged pathways. With each lurching step, the connection strengthened. They made it to the corridor as shouts echoed from both directions. The station had become a battleground between the human assassins and station security. "This way," Lena whispered, guiding them toward a maintenance shaft. "It leads to the lower level." Zathar's breathing was labored, his silvery skin flushed with exertion, but he moved with increasing coordination. The neural stimulator hummed against his neck, recalibrating with each step. "I don't understand," Lena said as they paused in a darkened junction. "Why would our own people want you dead?" Zathar's voice, when it finally came, was like stone grinding against metal, painful, raw, and used. "Peace threatens many." The simple phrase cost him visibly, but Lena understood immediately. A recovering Zathar returning to Valthusian space could reveal inconvenient truths about the war, could become a bridge between species, could disrupt the military-industrial complexes that thrived on continued conflict. "We have to reach the shuttle bay," she said. "But you need to know, I've never actually piloted a shuttle before." The corner of Zathar's mouth twitched upward. Was that a smile? "I have," he managed. Shuttle Bay 2 was mercifully unguarded, likely because no one expected targets to flee toward the more vulnerable section of the station. Lena sliced her access card through the reader, and the doors hissed open to reveal a small medical transport vessel. "Dr. Voronova." Javier's voice came from behind them, startling them both. The medical director was breathing hard, a laceration across his forehead staining his dark skin with blood. "Thank God." "Javier, what's happening?" Lena demanded, still supporting Zathar's weight. "Coordinated strike," he replied grimly. "Half human black ops, half Valthusian extremists. Different teams, same objective. Ensure Commander Zathar doesn't become a peace symbol." He glanced at the Valthusian with newfound respect. "I see your treatment worked better than expected." "It's temporary," Lena admitted. "The force stimulation is creating pathways around the damage, but they won't hold without continued treatment." "Which is why you need to get him out of here," Javier said, pressing an access card into her hand. "This shuttle is prepped for emergency medical evacuation. Course is already set for the neutral territories outpost on Ariel's ring. Come with us," Lena urged. Javier shook his head. Someone needs to explain why the commander isn't aboard when the Valthusian delegation arrives. Buy you time. He looked at Zather. Keep her safe. She's the most brilliant mind we have. Zather straightened slightly, pulling himself to a more dignified posture despite the pain it clearly caused him. You have my word. The station rocked as something exploded in a distant section. Go, Javier urged. Now. The shuttle broke away from Mercy's reach just as secondary explosions bloomed across the station's medical wing. Lena's hands trembled on the controls, but Zather's steadier grip guided them through the initial launch sequence. I'm sorry about Javier, she said once they'd cleared immediate danger. He was a good man. As are many. On both sides, Zather replied, his speech improving with each sentence. The war was built on misunderstandings. Deliberate ones. What do you mean? The bombardment of New Seattle. He paused, gathering strength. I was given intelligence showing weapons installations. Military targets only. His eyes met hers. After the attack, I requested verification. Found civilian records instead. Questioned the intelligence. And they silenced you, Lena finished. Quantum disruptor, convenient accident. The revelation settled between them as the shuttle accelerated toward interstellar space. What had begun as a doctor-patient relationship had evolved into something unprecedented. A human and a Valthusian united by a shared understanding that perhaps neither side had been fighting the war they thought they were. Ariel's ring is 19 hours away, Lena said. Your neural pathways will deteriorate without regular stimulation. I'll need to adjust the treatment. Zather nodded. And then, it was a question that extended far beyond medical prognosis. Then we tell the truth, she replied. To anyone who will listen. 3 months later, the Grand Conclave on Ariel's ring buzzed with tension. Representatives from 17 species filled the ancient amphitheater carved from living crystal, but all eyes were fixed on the two figures ascending the central platform. Dr. Lena Voronova walked steadily, her simple gray medical uniform a stark contrast to the ornate diplomatic attire surrounding them. Beside her, Commander Zather moved with the careful precision of someone relearning their own body, but his strides were confident. The neural interface now permanently integrated into his neck ridge gleamed with subtle light, a visible testament to what human and Valthusian science could accomplish together. Delegates of the conclave began the arbitrator, a neutron being whose translucent form shimmered with inner light. We convene today to hear testimony regarding the Terran-Valthusian conflict and consider the proposed interspecies recovery initiative. First speaker, Commander Zather of the Valthusian fleet. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Many had expected Dr. Voronova to speak for them both, assuming the commander's recovery was more symbolic than functional. Zather stepped forward. Though his voice still carried the roughness of neural damage, it projected clearly across the chamber. I stand before you as living proof, he began, of what lies we have been told about each other. For the next hour, he methodically detailed the intelligence manipulations that had escalated the conflict, the strategic accidents that had sabotaged peace efforts, and the powerful interests served by continued war. At his side, Lena provided medical data, showing how the collaborative healing approach they'd pioneered could be expanded to help thousands of wounded on both sides. The quantum disruptors that paralyzed me were designed to create injuries that could not be healed, Zather concluded. A weapon to ensure hatred would persist across generations. Yet here I stand, walking, speaking, because one human doctor refused to accept that limitation. From the human delegation, a stern-faced admiral rose. A touching story, Commander. But your recovery changes nothing about the atrocities committed under your command. It changes everything, Lena countered, stepping forward. Because it proves what we can accomplish when we work together instead of trying to destroy each other. Pretty words, Doctor, came a harsh voice from the Valthusian contingent. Ambassador Creel, a war hawk known for his aggressive stance. But your experiment proves nothing except that humans excel at manipulation. How do we know this isn't another human trick? The amphitheater erupted in accusations and counter-accusations. The arbitrator's calls for order went unheeded as centuries of interspecies mistrust bubbled to the surface. In the chaos, Lena caught Zather's eye. Without words, a plan formed between them. Zather removed the neural interface from his neck ridge. Immediately, his stance weakened, his body beginning to fail without the artificial support. Lena stepped to his side, steadying him. Enough, she shouted, her voice cutting through the din. The assembly fell silent. watching as the commander visibly struggled to remain standing. This is reality. Lena continued into the silence. Without continued treatment, the commander will return to full paralysis within hours. Without cooperation between our peoples, thousands more will suffer needlessly. Her eyes swept the chamber. We have developed a protocol that can restore neural function to victims of quantum disruption on both sides. But it requires Valthusian crystalline synthesis methods combined with human regenerative techniques. It cannot be done by either species alone. She held up the neural interface. This device represents what we can build together. Or, she set it down on the platform between the delegations. You can continue trying to destroy each other and ensure that no one else recovers. For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, a young diplomat from the human contingent rose. She walked to the center, picked up the interface, and approached Zather. My brother died at New Seattle, she said quietly. But he was a doctor. He would have wanted this. She offered the device to him. Ambassador Creel surged to his feet. This is weakness. The commander should suffer for his. Enough, Creel, interrupted an elderly Valthusian who had been silent until now. My son lost both legs to human weapons. If this can help him walk again, I will not reject it because of pride. One by one, representatives from both sides approached the center, forming a circle around Lena and Zather. The commander reattached the interface, his posture straightening as the neural connection stabilized. The conclave recognizes the formation of consensus, announced the arbitrator. The Interspecies Recovery Initiative is provisionally approved, with Dr. Lena Voronova and Commander Zather appointed as joint directors. Later, as Ariel's ring turned into its night cycle, Lena and Zather stood on the observation deck, watching the stars. The neural interface hummed softly, a sound that had become comforting to them both. Will it work? Lena asked quietly. One medical program can't erase a war. No, Zather agreed, his speech now fluid through the interface's assistance. But it creates a space where truths can be spoken, where enemies can become colleagues. Or friends, Lena added with a small smile. That too. He turned to face her. When I first woke in that medical bay, I hoped only for a dignified death. You gave me purpose instead. You saved my life on the station, she countered. We're even. Zather made a sound that might have been a laugh. Dr. Voronova, I believe we both know this partnership is far from even. I still require your expertise to function. And I need your knowledge to help others, she replied. Perhaps that's the point. Complete independence isn't the goal. It's learning how to depend on each other in ways that make us stronger. Below them, the first teams of human and Valthusian medical personnel were arriving, ready to begin training under the new initiative. Former enemies who would now work side by side, healing what others had broken. The neural interface pulsed with warm light as Zather's hand found Lena's shoulder, a gesture of respect in Valthusian culture. To new pathways, he said softly. Both neural and diplomatic, she agreed. Around them, the stars continued their ancient dance, indifferent to the conflicts of shorter-lived beings. But on Ariel's ring, something new had begun, a harmony created from the broken notes of war, a symphony of possibility rising from the ashes of conflict. And at its center, a doctor who refused to accept limitations and a commander who found strength and vulnerability, together writing a future neither of their worlds had dared imagine.